Hello, my name is Amos Tarfa. I'm a medical physicist and a math and science curriculum writer. I also do research in the field of AI and its impact on education. Over the last few months, I've been putting together resources and tools for schools and families and students to better understand what to do with this technology called artificial intelligence. My research involves studying the history of AI from the very beginning of the word AI being used at the Dartmouth conference and Aristotle's work on logic and people like Blaise Pascal, Ada Lovelace, you have George Boole, and Charles Babbage. I love talking about the history of mathematics and science, and it's very interesting that there is an overlap between the logic, the math, the computer science, right? And then we move into some applications of physics and math, which is in engineering. I would love to share with your school strategies to help everyone thrive in the AI revolution. There are many students who are probably going to use AI the wrong way. They're going to use it to do their homework. They're going to allow it to keep them lazy because school sometimes might be hard. How do we help students flourish in the age of AI? I have a podcast series called Parenting and Education in the AI Revolution, and I discuss different strategies to keep in mind in this era. As I had mentioned earlier, I'm available to help schools around America and around the world to think of very good ways to use AI for good and to equip the parents to know what to do in helping their students. One of my biggest concerns when it comes to AI use is with chatbots and the fact that they're about to increase in they're going to be ubiquitous. They're going to be everywhere. And I want parents to prepare because chatbots will make social media look like a child. So I have some concerns about how AI can be used in the wrong way. I have availability for about 20 schools this school year, but I have an online course that schools can also get for their teachers, where they can watch lessons and lectures on the history of AI, some of the technical topics, just brief overview discussions. There are very good courses out there already on the technical aspects of AI, how does AI work, and so on and so forth. But I might introduce you to key people in the AI world and key concepts like the transformer, deep learning, neural networks. But the actual coursework will be covered in some of the technical courses out there. One of the books I want to encourage schools to consider is a book by John Lennox, Dr. John Lennox from Oxford University. And the name of the book is 2084 by Professor John Lennox. Parents, AI can be used for good, but AI can also be used for bad. It's a technology. We never taught students how to navigate social media before it became ubiquitous. Now we are about to see something else. Let's not repeat that mistake again. The mistake of giving students technological tools without showing them how to use those tools well. There's a lot to talk about. Let me mention though that generative AI, which is where ChatGPT comes in, is only a sliver. It's only one tiny sliver in the discussion of AI as a whole. And to judge AI completely based on ChatGPT would not be wise, because there are cars that are driving around you that are powered by AI, the technology of AI or artificial intelligence. We can debate whether that should be the name of the technology, but for simplicity, I'm using the name in this conversation. It's it's pretty much just a pattern recognition machine with high speed. By the way, mathematics, one of the definitions of mathematics has to do with pattern recognition, right? You can look at math as a way to recognize patterns, right? That's part of what we do in math. Math is much more than that. So, how do we navigate this era that we're in? Well, one way we can do that is to recognize that the purpose of education should not be about information delivery. That should not be the fundamental purpose. And that's why the idea of state standards or the idea of standards of sorts is actually going to be outdated. The idea of I want to be careful with this next part. I was going to say the idea of a standardized test is going to be also tricky. Your standardized tests need to mean more than just meeting a state standard. everything needs to be focused on helping people flourish. We need to think of things like for human flourishing. For human flourishing. Is this helping for human flourishing? Is this helping people thrive? Is this helping people reach a higher, like their potential? Is it helping them reach their potential? Or is it just meeting the standards of a state, of the standards of an organization? I'm excited for this era, but one of the key aspects in this era is going to involve the role of a teacher. The role of a teacher needs to change. It needs to involve mentorship, virtues, building character. Parents, if you have someone teaching your child who you would not recommend your child to become like, in their virtue, in their character, in how they navigate learning, in them being teachable, in submitting to the fear of God, if people are not, like, if somebody is teaching your child and they have traits that concern you about your child imbibing those traits, that might be a red flag. Let me explain what I mean. There's something called agentic AI. So there's generative AI, which is what many people know. But then there's something called agentic AI. What is agentic AI? Agentic AI provides you with an opportunity to basically have computers perform tasks for you. Let me give you an example. I was going on an out-of-town work trip, and I've used agentic AI. Agentic AI is like a tool to build websites too. So I need a one-page website of this, this, and this. And agentic AI can lay it out, and you can get that one-page website in 5 minutes, right? Simple websites. Well, actually, more complex websites too in some ways. But I wanted a website. I was going out of town. I'm a medical physicist, so I work in different hospitals. I focus on the use of x-rays. You want to make sure x-rays are not used in large doses beyond what is necessary for the right image quality for the radiologist. So medical physicists work with all sorts of different aspects of physics for the aspect of helping with human flourishing, this is going to be very interesting. I'm going to come back to what I just said in a second. And so I used the agentic AI and said, I'm traveling with my family. My family of, my wife and I have 7 children. Traveling with my family of 9, and I want a certain type of house with an Airbnb in a city near such and such in Houston, so I can work at these different parts of Houston. Enter. Done. Here are the 5 houses in these specific locations. Great. One of the things you notice, I tell people as a physicist, sometimes I don't like when there's too many options for something, right? Maybe it's part of it is just, I love doing math and I want to know that 1 + 1 is 2. Done. I'm out of here. I would be the worst interior decorator in the world. I think I would be the worst because it's just like, could this go with blue or green? I'm like, nah, it doesn't matter. We have things to do. We got equations to solve. So the point though is that when I look at the state of education, agentic AI is really going to change things a lot more than generative AI. Because generative AI, it writes an essay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, agentic AI writes textbooks in minutes. I'm serious. Agentic AI can write you a whole textbook on how addition works. For example, I had a student who loved engines, and I said, using agentic AI, create a math booklet idea for this particular student using engines as the focus for mathematical discussions. Done. So it created a textbook using engines specific to that student's needs. Now, AI introduces topics about worldview. It is one of the first technologies that forces a conversation about worldview. Because some of the people in AI research they've said themselves that they are materialists. They don't believe there's anything beyond what you can see, matter. Well, the problem is we have a problem. That will affect some of their research, and they need to probably come to terms with that reality. There is more to us than matter. As a matter of fact, I would agree with Dr. Robert Marks in his book, Non-Computable You. He talks about this, and I've interviewed him on my YouTube channel, Living Sensibly with Amos Tarfa. You'll see my interview with Dr. Robert Marks at Baylor University. I don't think that there are certain things AI will never be able to do. And I'm not saying it as a pessimist. I'm saying it as one who understands the nature of the one creating the AI tools. See, AI is basically trying to copy certain aspects of another being, and that's human beings. So ultimately, we have to answer the question, why are human beings the way they are? What is unique about them? Well, in the Bible, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. There's a lot more we need to talk about, but let's just say that God created the world. God created humans. AI is trying to copy certain aspects of human functions and trying to put it into use by machines, so that there are many reasons. One, because these machines could potentially then work 24/7, increasing productivity for companies. Two, so that it could help some of these humans be able to relate to the world better. For example, AI tools that can help you translate from English to Spanish. That could be a good thing, right? For some of us who don't speak 20 languages. That is something, that's where it gets interesting, right? When you start looking at the aspects of AI that you're like, okay, that could help. So, where do we go from here? Remember when I told you about medical physics and I said I was going to come back? Let's talk about that, and then we'll land our plane. But again, this is our Parenting and Education in the AI Revolution podcast. One of the computer technologies that powers AI, the GPUs and so on, some of those things were designed for a few reasons. One of them had to do with gaming, which is a different story for another day, but that's one. But the other reason that some of these things exist is actually for CT scanners. There's this thing called a CT scanner, which you've probably seen, and you maybe had a CT scan, an MRI scan. So as a medical physicist, we're trained in the physics of CT scanners and MRI scanners. And if you want to watch more videos about how CT works, I'm actually going to be recording a few of them because I need to do more of my continuing education credits in CT. So when I finish my lessons in CT, I'm going to record short videos about CT. But so you have these CT scanners, right? You have an X-ray tube that's going to emit X-rays, and you have a detector that is going to have the X-rays go to that detector. And then you have a patient on the table. So the X-rays are going through the patient, they go to the detector, and then an image is constructed, and you look on the monitor, and the image of the patient shows up in less than 5 seconds. Okay, what technology was used to make that happen? Some of that hardware and some of the ideas of that have now been repurposed for AI were actually used in CT scanners. The hardware, right? So you hear about some of this from Jensen Huang, who's the CEO of NVIDIA, which makes the AI, the chips that run a lot of the AI infrastructure you hear about. Why do I bring that up? For a few reasons. Number one, that accelerated computing is very helpful with CT scanners. If somebody's having a stroke, they put them through a CT scanner. That can give you the image fast. Okay, but here's the other side of the discussion. When the images are produced by the CT scanner, because of AI tools, it can give feedback on the images quickly for the radiologist to just review then and sign off on. So radiology is going to be affected greatly by AI. Because AI does well in trying to find patterns. Remember, it's a very fast pattern recognition machine. Very fast. Okay. There are aspects of AI that you can't escape. Even if you have concerns about AI, there are just some aspects that are not in terms of generative AI, but in terms of AI in technology use. So we have cars, we have medicine, we have, unfortunately, there are some bad uses also, like facial recognition for bad purposes in certain aspects of China, for example, right? And this is probably going to happen in other places. If you can recognize people and you can try to, have consequences for what they do, it starts getting tricky. John Lennox talks about this in 2084. There's a lot more to talk about. Please subscribe to the channel, Living Sensibly with Amos Tarfa. Look out for the book, Parenting and Education in the AI Revolution. And let me know if I can come help your school navigate the AI revolution. Have a blessed day, and thanks for watching.